So imagine you wake up and the headlines read, "The leader of the United States is gone." Now I know, if we're being honest, quite a few of us have perhaps already had that vision. But we're going to talk about today the vision of this ending versus the reality, and something that Spirit reminded me of that I wanted to share with you today that might help guide us through some unexpected emotions that we could experience in this fall. So Spirit sent in memories of Halloween parties. And when I was much younger, I used to host not just a Halloween party, but a Halloween blowout party. There was a lot of people that attended this party. It was very much anticipated. And every year people would be like, "Are you doing the party? You're gonna..." And it was such an event. It took a lot of preparation. People took a lot of effort with their costumes. There was a costume contest. There was the decorations. It was something that a large group of us looked forward to. And it always provided a nice distraction. You know, I know a distraction from maybe jobs that weren't going as well as we had hoped, or maybe if there was issues going on in our personal lives. It was that thing that we were like, you know, that's fine because I'm really excited for this party. And every year, the party was the party. And we all had fun. We all had, great costumes. But in reflecting back, and the part that Spirit is bringing to us today is that the day after, looking around at all the mess, at all of the cleanup that was needed, was such a letdown. It was really easy to get depressed because that was the thing that we had all been looking forward to. And now the thing that I had to look forward to was the mess cleanup. And I feel that that story relates a lot to where we sit today in our anticipation of a big event that is upcoming that may, in the moment, feel great. And I'm not going to say that we shouldn't feel good or celebrate something that releases a negative hold that has been over a lot of people, that has led to this heaviness that we've had an experience of because of this one person. So we're all human. We came here for that human experience, right? I say we get to celebrate a little. But I'm being cautioned here that it's okay to celebrate the end of something negative, not to celebrate the end of a person. And it may be even better to celebrate. Now we can stop the chatter coming from this one place and focus on something new. The realization, though, the day after the party, that we have quite a mess to clean up is what Spirit wants us to be prepared for. Be ready after the party's over and the cleanup is done to perhaps have a little bit of a letdown. Now what do we look forward to? Now what's that thing that we hold on to that we're anticipating? What do we replace it with? that is something that we should be thinking about now. And planting the seeds of where we can put that energy and anticipation of something coming in the present moment will make this an easier time for a lot of us. Is there something that you've had your thoughts on, like planting a garden, literally planting seeds? Or could it be helping with making sure we have homeless shelters in our local community? Or something, an outreach for people who maybe need to talk through some of these emotions? Because the second thing that Spirit guided me to was to acknowledge that many of us, and I would say a good portion of our society, might be triggered in something that we're not thinking of right now. And that is the experience of betrayal in an authority figure or someone who is supposed to be looking out for us, for our country, that didn't do that. And if any of us have experienced that prior to this, such as a parent or a spouse or a good friend, a loved one, that we counted on, that we always thought that position of authority would be to support and help us, where we were betrayed instead. Be mindful of the emotions that can come from this betrayal that many of us will be feeling. This president has always been a triggering individual. And back, I think it was March or April, I did a show on Tarot Soul Rider with Carrie. And it was called The Tower, and it had the Trump Tower card, and pink elephants, and the id. And I think of this as a continuing story from that message that Spirit had sent at that time about be mindful about what this president triggers in you. Take this time to acknowledge it and try and work through it, so that when there's a betrayal or when there's a letdown, we go, okay, I get it. I remember this betrayal in the past, or I understand that I'm being triggered and doing this thing that I always get triggered, and it really has to do with being let down by somebody that's supposed to be a caregiver. This is a good time to look at it, acknowledge it, and release it, so that when it comes up again, we can not be as affected. And we'll be dealing with this in a little different way. We'll be dealing with it individually, and we'll be dealing with it as a country and as a world. It is not just the United States that's going to be seeing these people in positions of authority that did not have the best interest of the people, of mankind. And this is all being brought to the surface right now for us to see, for the world to see. It's also showing our country where we have been out of balance with other countries in the world. There is a moment of potential growth, a moment of reckoning and reconciliation. And if we can celebrate that, if we can celebrate the ending of the chatter that's distracted us from what we need to focus on going forward, knowing that it's going to be a lot of work, knowing that the house is a mess, knowing that we're going to have to clean it up, but looking at the giant light that our current leader has shown on what needs to be repaired. You know that old saying about you turn on the lights and all the cockroaches go scurrying? We're going to see some of that too. Don't be surprised also if when we come to a point where it would be so easy to say to those people that we try to say, look, don't you see? Don't you see? And we could easily say, see, I told you so. That may not feel good. That may not be the release that we hoped it would be. In fact, I think a lot of us may not say it at all, even though we've probably played it out in our heads so many times. Oh, I tried to tell you. And now it's just seeing somebody that was lost, perhaps, feeling a higher level of betrayal. How could I have been so misled? And maybe in this moment, we find some compassion and we find some empathy. And we, instead of wagging the finger, can reach out our hand and say, okay, now let's work together to fix this. So let's celebrate that. And I personally have 2 bottles of champagne because I think the last one probably went flat. So if you need to freshen up whatever bubbly you want, cider or whatever, however you celebrate, get ready to enjoy a moment of relief. So I'd like to end by pulling some cards to give us a little more inspiration and information for the time ahead, and just whatever Spirit wants us to know for this upcoming energy. Okay, what does Spirit want to share with us? Whoa, that one. King of Pentacles. This is talking about looking at our relationship with money, with valuing men that have a lot of money. And he's white. Let's just be honest. White men with a lot of money. This is not to bag on all of men or bag on people with everybody that has money, but this is saying our obsession with certain people with money and allowing that to get so out of control is part of what got us here. Okay, so, and we all can see in the government and the behind the scenes, these people with the controlling money, we need to take a look at how much influence we've allowed them to have. Nine of Swords. I think this is going to talk about what we've just talked about today, about how it's going to feel good and bad, but then notice here the white bird on the top. We come out of it with some enlightenment and some lightness. So don't be surprised at emotions that may come from this experience. And the last is the Hierophant. And I think this symbolizes a lot of things. It symbolizes government. It symbolizes us wanting something higher and better from our government. We want leaders who are more like this and maybe less like this for our higher purpose, for ourselves, for our country, and for the world. I hope that this has been a message that resonates with you. And I hope that we are able to move through this quickly into the best possible outcome for everyone. And I want to thank you all again for watching, for liking, for making comments. I always love your comments. So please put them below. And I also am excited to say I have my first live that I'll be hosting here on my channel with Carrie, the Spilling of the Tea. So hopefully I've got all that technology worked out, and I'll be sending out reminders for that. And if there's something you'd like me to read on, please put that in the comments too. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the day, and I will see you soon. Take care.